Hey guys, welcome to GameChangers podcast, inspiring conversations with leaders of tomorrow. My name is Harsh.
And I'm AJ, and we'll be your host for today. Today we have Raj and Anthony on the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey guys.
So they're working on an app called Spontivly, which I guess just start off by telling our users a little bit about what Spontivly is.
So Spontively is like a mobile platform, a mobile web-based platform that tells people what's going on in their community.
Right. And what's like your purpose with this? Like, what are you looking to?
I think so. What we're trying to do is actually we realize that with the advent of technology, we as a society have gone further and further away from knowing what's going on in our communities.
Right.
So you've got these platforms like Facebook, Instagram, all these social tools, right? And people have just been so disconnected with their communities.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is bring them back.
That's ironic, actually.
Yeah.
Social media is supposed to bring us closer, but in reality, it's
Exactly.
driving us further apart.
It's funny because what you alluded to before, we're more connected than ever, yet we're still disconnected, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's essentially what we're trying to do is facilitate the engagement side and how we can curate information towards people for them to connect.
Right.
For sure. And focusing on, I guess, the organic methods of social interaction, right? The basic core, instead of just through, media, actually encouraging face-to-face interaction and building communities like that.
Absolutely.
So we'll dive into more detail about your app and your idea behind that. But I guess start us off by telling our viewers a little bit about like your career backgrounds, like how you got into this.
Yeah. So you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll let you go first, man.
Okay. Well, I've been in tech for over 15 years. So I used to work at IBM, CGI, Sierra, all the big tech companies here. I used to be a PeopleSoft consultant. I did the implementations at the University of Alberta. I worked in a number of accounts, and always into tech. So that's how I got me into it.
Right. And then
Yeah, so for myself, man, I don't have a tech background, so I come from an urban planning background, so that's what I've done in school, and so most of my experience, I worked primarily in the public sector, so I worked in provincial government. I'm originally from Ontario, so I worked in provincial government, municipal government, a school board, and a regional economic development corporation where I work currently.
right.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So I guess that's very unique how you were co-founding a tech startup, but your background is very different and very specific field for urban planning.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, because that's very unique to me, because obviously society makes it in such a way, like they tell us that, in fields like this, you need to have, technical skills and you need some sort of experience to, like you guys are building an app. So tell us a little bit to us about, the process of how you got into this and I guess maybe some barriers that you faced.
For sure, Raj. It's funny because with the whole tech scenario, it's funny because I've always wanted to be in tech. Even when I was in university, I used to like any type of ideas that used to come to my head, I used to jot it down, and I would even talk to my friends who are in comp sci, ask them like what type of programs are needed to develop this, or do you know anybody who would be interested in working with me on something like this? But it never really materialized. But it was something that was always in the back of my head. So when I was in Ontario, when I was working there, spontaneously I made the move to Alberta. So I spent some time in Lloydminster. So when I moved from Markham, Ontario to Lloyd, you're coming from like a dense populated city, as well as you're the friendships and the network that you make is all organic. It's through school, it's through friends and or like family friends or whatever it might be. And when I moved to Lloyd, I was like, man, how do you go about befriending one another? I'm not an antisocial guy by any means, but how exactly is the process like, especially with social media? I felt like even with social media today, it was hard to figure out what is appropriate enough to meet other people in general. So going, doing some of the extracurriculars like playing hockey, going to the gym, stuff like that helped facilitate some connections. So I was always in the back of my head. So when I was in Lloyd, that landed me another opportunity in Edmonton. So I moved from Lloyd to Edmonton, which is a bigger city, a bigger metropolis, and I realized that the problem is still relevant whether you're in a rural place or a more urban, dense community. And that's when I met Anthony playing hockey. And we met playing hockey, and it was funny because Anthony was working on this, a year or two prior. And he was at the stage where he's figured everything out. He was just looking for a team to put together. And then he approached me, and I'm like, man, let's start this up. So this was January 2018, last year. Yeah.
Wow.
I think what you're forgetting was I approached Raj, and I basically gave him an option. I'm like, hey, you either go back to Toronto or you're gonna
Legit.
You either gonna
So this is why I'm still here in Edmonton.
Wow, that's awesome. Man. You know,
Sorry, coming back
No.
to your question though about tech, I think so between Raj and myself, there's a 10-year gap, right? There's a 10-year difference, right? I'm an age miss. I'm 38.
you're doing good for yourself.
Yeah,
man. You're
thanks,
doing
man. I
good.
appreciate it. But when I went to school, we were just figuring out how to create an email address, right? Like that was one of our assignments in school.
Right.
To create
Wow.
an email address, right?
That's funny.
Like I remember, like I fell in love with tech because of the doors that opened when I was going to school, and now people are born with cell phones almost. People are born with technology, right? Like we're so advanced. So, I don't think, regardless of which profession you go into, like if someone's in, let's say, in education, they still have to understand technology in this day and age. You can't get away from that, right? That's how our society works now, right?
And that's so true. And like, even kids nowadays, you're right. Like everyone has a cell phone. It's kind of just become a part of us. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just learning how to manage it, right? Because
Exactly.
it is such a big tool. Like even Google, like information at your fingertips everywhere, anytime, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But I want to go back to, I guess, because you have more of the tech background, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you studied computing science in university, or?
Yeah, I took 3 years of computing science. I dropped out of computing science at the university because I'm not I'm more of a hands-on person. I can't do theory. I can't read a book.
Right.
So I had a pretty decent average, but I just couldn't do it. And then I went to NAIT just to get a paper for 2 years.
Was there a lot of like stigma around the whole like, should you drop out, not drop out? Like,
Oh man, dude, I'm brown. I'm like my parents. Like I didn't tell my parents. I
What?
didn't tell my parents that I was dropping out of university because they would freak out, right? And there's a stigma like my parents are immigrants, right? So they want their son to go to university and have this university degree. Where for me, even back then, that was not my passion. I was like, I don't have to read a book. I just want to do it on my own. I was always that way. So when I decided to leave university, I didn't tell my parents until the very end.
Jeez,
And
man.
then- yeah.
That's some guts right
Yeah,
there.
I
Man.
didn't tell my parents because I knew what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And then my first semester at NAIT, when the transcripts came, like when NAIT letters came in, they're like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "I gotta break it to you."
Oh my god.
Oh man, that was
hilarious.
that was the worst.
I can't even imagine the
I
reaction.
can't,
Like,
I don't know.
Oh my god. So I guess like, that's a good story. So how'd your parents react? That's what I'm curious.
Oh, they lost it. They lost
Yeah, of course.
They lost it. Right?
Lost it is an understatement. I'm telling you.
They lost it. I got shit on for weeks, but it was just not for me, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that's my personality. If I know something that's not for me,
yeah.
I'm not gonna do it, right? I'm not gonna pursue it. And why be miserable? Why be miserable going through this where I'm like, okay, I just want to go in, get something quick, and then go to the real world. That was my mentality back when I was like, when I was in university. I was like, why am I wasting my time here? I want to go do something, and I want to be more practical and get hands-on experience.
Yeah.
That's more valuable to me.
Wow. So I think that's a huge risk that you took because, especially like let's say there's different fields and like I'm in business. So business is like I drop out, it's fine. I can start my own business. But when it's a field like computer science, which is it's such a technical field, and obviously degrees matter, right? And so what gave you the courage to I guess?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I would personally disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because you see now, like you see big companies now, like the Googles, the Facebook,
Yeah.
they have dropped that prerequisite of having a degree, because especially I know like in tech, right? Either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
There's no in between, right? You either grasp the concept, and if you grasp the concept, you can work your way through getting that skill, right? A good example is I use athletes, athletes in any sport. Like, let's use hockey for example, right? If you've got that guy who's got purely relying on skill, right? He's going to get to a certain point. But if you've got that guy who doesn't have that skill just yet, or doesn't have that skill quite, but is working his ass off, it's going to surpass the guy with skill, right? So it's the same thing with tech. If you have an aptitude to learn, you'll always surpass that guy who's got like a 3.5 GPA.
Yeah. So like hard work versus talent, basically.
Exactly.
That's the comparison.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah, always
right?
hard work always does
and,
trump.
and in the Valley, they talk about this. Like they talk about like how you want those guys who are hard workers or who accomplish it, because the guys who know their shit are cocky and arrogant. Like they have that personality. Like, okay, I'm the shit. I'm the best developer in the world, right? No, man. It takes a team to actually push this through.
And I think like the biggest thing Harsh was alluding to is like we hear it all the time. Like get a degree, it opens doors for you.
Yeah.
But you're a living testament of like that.
not just me. Like I think Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these guys in tech.
Yeah.
They don't have a university. Mark Zuckerberg just left Harvard, right? If you know what you've got, and like, it's not like, you know, I'm not saying everybody to drop out today. That's not what I'm saying. It's like if you've got the skill sets to work hard and be able to say like, okay, I can learn this on my own, or no piece of paper can, you know, like a piece of paper is just a piece of paper at the end. Does it have value? Sure, it does, right? I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying don't do your university degree. It does. But you can just go out and do it and learn and execute it much higher than someone who just went to school and read off a book.
Right. Yeah. And then so you worked in big companies like IBM, right?
Yeah.
IBM. How long did you work in like the corporate tech world, I guess?
Oh, for 15 years.
15 years?
15 years, yeah. Like I worked at IBM for over like just about 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what made you leave? Because like nowadays, especially, you think that's a dream. Like probably 6-figure salary, I'm guessing, right? Like you get like a stable income. You're working in tech. Like what made you want to leave? Like.
I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a purpose. Like I think, you know, I owe it to IBM because they've set the foundation for me. Like it's IBM. Like I had two job opportunities. Either stay at IBM or go to Microsoft. And I think one of my regrets was not to go to Microsoft because I was just going to be at home. It was more comfortable. But IBM had so much value for me because they set the standard, right? They set the foundation for me in my career. Like they showed the path of, okay, this is what we expect from you. These are your metrics. This is how you, like, it's almost like you're an entrepreneur within the company, right? Like it's either they didn't teach you out of a book. They're like, here's our training. You either sink or you swim.
Right.
And that's actually how the world works.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You either do it or you don't, right?
Yeah.
And there's no amount of books that you read, no theory, right? Like every single theory class that I went to, like, you know, in university or in at NAIT, didn't matter, right? They don't teach you, like, you know, about how human behavior.
Yeah.
Like it's unpredictable, right? The outcomes are so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Right? So so I owe it to that point.
For sure. Thanks for sharing that. It's really insightful, I think, and because nowadays lots of people associate, you know, a good income and, you know, a stable financial situation as being successful, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess I'd like to ask you, how do you define success, right? Being in that phase and having quit that job, how do you define success?
I think success is subjective, right? That's you know, it's all depending on that individual, right? I think, you know, for me, success is how do I give back to the community, and how do I leave a mark in society? That is what success is, right? It's not about the materialistic aspect. It's not about your salary, right? Because let's face it, like you make 100,000 this year, tomorrow you don't have that $100,000 and it's all relative and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
But what people can't take away is what you've done, what you've accomplished, right? So for me, my vision or my aspiration is that I want to be in the same conversation as Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and I can't do that working, making six figures, because I haven't been I'm not going to be an innovator.
Right.
I'm not going to be a disruptor.
I think
That's interesting.
it comes back to that behavior about, like, I think we were talking about it that day too, but if you want to become part of, the top 5% in the world, then you have to then you can't behave like the 95% of the population, right? So you have to implement that change. You have a vision, that's awesome, but you also have to take actions and, implement them in your daily life to achieve that goal, right? Yeah, for sure.
It's similarly to what Anthony had alluded to, and I completely attest to that. The fact that success is subjective, and it is pursuant towards what you're like contextual to the individual. So, and I've never seen success as something that's materialistic or there's a monetary value or figure that's associated with it, but it truly is based on the type of I guess legacy you leave behind. And it's funny because Anthony and I were talking about this the other day, and we were just kind of just reflecting, and we were just talking about how our parents being immigrants. This kind of spawned on me because I actually did a placement in Sri Lanka. So I was working on like a public space, like a revitalization project in Sri Lanka in the north side, and it was a kind of like a low income, and Sri Lanka in itself is like a developing country, so it's like a low income area, and it was just funny when I'm seeing people in that village that are the same age as me, and they're standing there, I'm looking at them, and I'm just like very blessed to be in the position I am today because why was I chosen to be in this circumstance in terms of socioeconomics and the opportunities that we have, right? So when I was reflecting on this, my family came here and gave us this best life. They struggled and they hustled to come up to this point where I'm able to have this opportunity to go work and provide to society. So what type of legacy am I going to leave behind, or for my future children, or that's essentially what success is, right? Kind of one-upping that, and that's essentially what it is, giving back. It's as simple as that. So
it's amazing, man. I really like your mindset about how you said you went back and seeing from where you're from and the people what their lifestyle is like. I think that's really missing in our society where people they don't have that awareness, right? You see even in everyday life, think of it this way: we live in the most resourceful continent in the world, probably living, like, if you compare to the rest of the world's population, in the top 10%. When you talk about resources, when you talk about lifestyle, when you talk about comfort, right? We have access to everything, but still we find a way to complain and still find a way to find out what's missing, right? And when you have that sort of awareness of what's going on in the rest of the world and how blessed you are,
absolutely,
what resources you have, then you think, okay, you know what? I'm grateful to have this opportunity, and it's my duty to not just give back to others, but also fulfill my potential, right? And use what I have and all the resources that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point, man. Yeah.
So I want to transition a little bit, I guess, to now how you guys took the leap, essentially, right? Like, so Anthony, I'm guessing you work full time at Spawn. Like, you quit your job and you're working full time.
Yeah.
Towards your endeavors.
Yeah.
Now,
Quit
right?
my job.
Like, what? Sorry, before you go on, like, there's a big risk involved with this, right? Like, you're leaving the stable income to follow this pursuit of that you're unsure what will happen, right? Talk us through that. Like, what was your motivation that allowed you to take this jump?
Well, I think you have to believe in it, right?
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like, if you don't believe in it and you don't live it, breathe it, how do you do this, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to my last day at my job, it was like almost like when I gave my resignation, it was like a relief, right? It was like a weight lifted off my shoulder that I'm like, okay, I don't have to like almost do this on the side. I have to actually I can actually concentrate on this fully, right?
Yeah.
And but even when I started this, I knew fundamentally I was going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I was going to do, right? And it comes back to purpose, right? my belief, I believe that everybody in this world has a purpose, right? Everybody has a purpose, but it's people decide to fulfill that purpose or not. But it's easy not to because you've got those golden handcuffs, right? You've got a day-to-day job that will, pay the bills, right? And will allow you to, to live your means, and then but you deviate from your purpose, right? So for me, this is my purpose. This is what I'm, wired to do, and I should fulfill it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's really insightful. So, Raj, I mean, for you, what is, I guess, what's your motivation to be a part of this, and what's your why?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's similar to what I alluded to before, but it's as simple as how do I help humanity? That's what it is. As simple as that. And even with my current job that I have in the planning field, um, there's some capacity where I'm able to do that. But with this startup that we have, you have full autonomy over how you're going to be alleviating some of these concerns. For me, it's like that's as simple as that selfish reason. I think when I did that placement when I was in Sri Lanka, it kind of just sparked something in me where I'm just like, man, like this is what I want to do. Like this is exactly what I want to do. We're kind of have like the financial stability to go out and figure out how do I problem solve in these different fields or aspects of how do I alleviate some of these concerns that people are going through. Right. So it's as simple as that. Just how can I give back?
Yeah.
It's a little, yeah.
So with that, like, I guess what's wrong? Like, what do you think what's wrong with social media today that Spontivly hopes to fix? I guess that's what I want to ask you. Like, you have the solution to helping people become more connected. What's not working today, and how does Spontively aim to fix that?
Or I got you good. I think right now and how we are as a society, we're very superficial.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, if I saw Harsh, right, post something on Instagram, and then I look at it, I'm like, okay, I know Harsh.
Yeah.
But it's complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Because I really don't know Harsh as a person. I don't know you, AJ. Like, when it comes down to it, what these platforms are doing is actually making us further and further away from society.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing, right? Because we're okay with we're coming to the point where we're okay just seeing a picture and be like, yeah, I know exactly what's going on in their lives. That's great, right? And how often do people actually post crappy photos? It's all fake.
Positive highlights.
It's all highlights, right? But that's not how life works.
Yeah.
Right? That's not how, like, what happens when you're depressed and what happens when you're sad?
Yeah.
Where do you go then? You're not posting that on Instagram. You're not posting your face crying on Facebook, right? But you need to have somebody to communicate and talk to and interact to and bring you through those tough times, right? Yeah. So, and this is what I'm going through, the social behavior, but our platform, all it does is, like, we're not replacing those tools. We just say, hey, this is what's going on in your community. Do you want to go? Yes, no. So let's say if AJ, you're into computers, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, I don't know, I'm doing some a computer event at the university, and if you were interested in it and you're available at that time, Spontively notifies you basically that, hey, Anthony's doing this. Do you want to go? Yes, no. So it's breaking down those barriers and those noise, like right now, that we have when we try to search for something to do.
Yeah, and that's actually that's a truth statement. Like, really, like, when I'm looking for stuff to do, like events, because I think the biggest thing is, like, human connection happens in person, right? Like, it doesn't happen over text. It doesn't happen over, like, DMs. Like, it happens in person, like conversations like this. Yeah. And I think, like, even personally, like, I've experienced it. Like, I'm looking for things to do, like, with my friends. But it's like you have to search through Facebook events. You have to search through, like, this, like, non-ending list of, like, stuff that doesn't even cater to you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, a big problem to solve, like, because there's so much information coming at us. It's like, what's useful information?
Absolutely.
But I guess for an example, let's say, so I'm going to give an example to the people that are watching. So let's say how the app works is, let's say I really want to go play soccer, maybe like an hour from now or even right now. I can create an event and say, hey, my name's Harsh, I'm playing soccer here, and if anyone around me or in the city is on the app, they can see what I'm doing and they can come and connect with me or join me in whatever activity I'm doing. So it could be sports related, it could be an event, it could be a social setting, it could be a party,
Could be anything.
it could be anything. But again, it's called Spontively, so it's like spontaneously living, right? That's
Exactly.
and in that moment, if you want to do something, you can kind of find whatever's going on around you, and you can connect with people so in an organic way in person instead of just over media or trying to plan a certain event. And I think like spontaneity, it's part of who we are as social beings, and it just it brings a lot of happiness too. Like if you have like sometimes you might just have a sudden plan that comes up with someone, and it's like an exciting thing, right? It just comes together all of a sudden, and it's a lot more exciting than something that's kind of planned over a long time or something that's like a task that you have to do.
And as a society, we don't plan anymore, right? The planning phase is it's very it's probably my generation,
especially with millennials.
They don't plan anymore.
They plan after they're at a place or a trip or something like that.
Yeah, I think the statistic is that 85% of millennials plan after they arrive in the city.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Like, imagine if you went to Calgary right now.
Yeah.
You basically have to search through Google, like all these platforms to figure out what's going on. But imagine if you had Spontively. Basically, it's your personal assistant in your pocket. You land in Calgary, and they'll be like, Harsh, AJ, based on like here, you're available at 8 o'clock. Based on what you like, this is all that's going on. Boom, right there. And you at least have it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go, but at least now, right? This is okay. All that's going on. It's catered to me. This is what I like. I don't have to search anymore.
Yeah. So how does the app cater like events for you? So break that down a little bit.
So basically, when you download the platform, you create a profile. You tell the platform, like you tell the app what you like and what you want to be notified about.
Right.
And that's it.
Wow. And like, does your availability play into it too, or
absolutely. You do. You set your availability.
Yeah.
Right now we have it either morning, afternoon, evening. Eventually we're going to integrate it to your calendar, your phone calendar.
Yeah.
But we find like people don't really use their phone calendars that much, right?
Yeah.
So just have that setting on the app will just allow you to be notified when you're.
I'm sure you guys could attest to the fact that when you're trying to hang out with a group of friends and you're trying to figure out what everyone's schedules and stuff are, and none of it aligns, and you got to go back and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. So this kind of alleviates that, and this kind of you can do events or activities that are public or private.
Yeah.
So it's just easier for people to just kind of just go and figure out what to do. So
and also connect with people that have similar interests, right?
Yeah.
And similar hobbies and stuff like that.
That's how Raj and I.
That's exactly how we met.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and that's so big because like nowadays people just don't hang out as much, right? So you don't meet as many new people. Like even in university, which is funny because going to university, everyone's like, oh, you're gonna meet all these people and have all these friendships.
Yeah.
But like 3 years in, and I can only say half of that's true. Like you really have to put an effort to get out there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, university setting is supposed to be this conducive environment. Everyone, like, you could spread your wings kind of in a way, right? But I feel like it's resulting in a lot of isolation, to be honest. Like I make friends in university, like, just realistically speaking, the friends I've made, a lot of them are just, like, buddies in class. And then after that, like, we don't really hang out as much. And it's like the real friendships that stay are the friendships I had before. So I think that's like a big problem that needs to be addressed.
And those friends that you made was through childhood, organic, that just kind of shaped over time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just very interesting how, like, if you think about a foreign student, for instance, who's new to a country, new to a city, new to a community, how do they go about, connecting with people? They can go through all 4 years without, university, as you alluded to, like, it's supposed to be the best experience of your life, right? It's where you meet all these people and it's just new experiences in general. But, a lot of these foreigners, like, oh man, it's tough for them to really connect. So that's what we're trying to alleviate. That's what we're trying to figure out.
It's funny AJ mentions the university part. I've seen a couple of times, like, I'll go into university and there's a full table of like 8 or 9 people sitting. Every single person is on their phone or either on their computer or either has their headphones in, and no one is communicating and no one's talking. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you're together, but you're not being socially active. You're not really engaging. Like you're just present at the same time, but you're not really connected with other people. It's funny. I actually saw something the other day. I was at Starbucks, It's crazy. So I saw this family, and I saw so the mom was on her phone, right? The dad was on his phone. They have a baby also sitting on there, like on a stroller, and the baby is literally, he has these huge headphones on his head, right? And he's watching some cartoon on his
That's hilarious.
Everyone's tuned in.
and I'm like, man, you have a child, you have like a baby who's 1 or 2. This is like the most crucial part of their developmental phase.
Yeah.
And as a family, they're having this time out, just to spend some time together. But they're actually not spending any time at all. Like everyone is just, so tuned into media and just so disconnected. And coming back to what you said earlier too is, social media is supposed to connect us, but it's actually disconnecting us, and it's becoming more negative than positive.
Yeah, it's the trend that we're trying to stop, right? We're trying to come in and say, look, you can use technology for a good purpose. You can use it as a tool set. But we are creatures of habit. Like we communicate, we interact. Like that can't be that's not. You can't take that away. Like the method of communication has obviously changed, right?
Yeah.
The platforms have changed, right? But our thing is that, okay, bringing you awareness, finding out what's going on is the first step of this breaking the cycle, because there's just so much noise, there's so much stuff going on that we have to, our platform is coming in and saying, okay, based on what you like, what your availability is, this is what's going on in your location, and then it's up to you to participate. And in order to get engagement, we reward people to participate. So we reward, like Raj, if he wants to go play soccer with Harsh, hey, earn these points, do this, and then get rewarded for actually engaging back into the community.
Yeah, so gamifying it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
and I think that helps. It's a reinforcement, right? Like,
yeah.
And
yeah.
somebody has a positive experience, to make a couple new friends.
Yeah.
And they just want to keep doing it more and more. And then obviously, like, I guess the in-app kind of incentives help too, right?
Absolutely, because we want to encourage that interaction outside of the platform, not just inside, right? Like just because you're going there and you're on your phone doesn't mean anything. Like, you have to participate, and we thought it through. Like even we've got some features that were coming out where we're looking at, okay, when you're going to that soccer field, hey, go bump phones with Harsh, like and earn 5 points. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, really?
Like
like
to actually just like drill it down even more. Because then after your soccer game, you get, with our partners with the local businesses, like you're getting 20% off at United Cycle.
Oh, really?
So like, stuff like that. Yeah. Like, and it engages you, like,
so
okay.
And it also entices you to earn those points, right?
Yeah.
But like, say if you're in a team setting and it might not be probable that you're going to meet every single person on that, but then this is where we're really drilling it down. Man, go and bump phones with people so you can get points, and potentially that could spark up a conversation and an organic connection.
Yeah, and that's an icebreaker too, right?
Yeah, and I think it's about time, because honestly, I'm done with those WhatsApp groups, man. Like those WhatsApp groups with 30 people. Hey guys, who's trying to link up today? Nothing ever comes out of that. And I'm like, man, I think that's probably your biggest competitor, I guess, at the moment, is WhatsApp groups, because you guys are gonna. That's your main competitor, and I really like how you get to meet new people and just socialize as well. And for sure.
So the next part I want to touch on is like, so have you established partnerships with like big organizations to get this out, kind of, or like even because I was telling you, universities got a big problem with loneliness, right? Like, are universities kind of recognizing that there's this problem to address, or what?
Yeah, they do. So we partnered with Macewan University and the University of Alberta.
Yeah.
So they're realizing now that this is fundamentally a problem, right? So students, it doesn't matter which year they come in. When you come in as a student, your one focus is, I want to get by this year.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I need to pass my grades, or I need to do that, right? But over time, there's just so much stuff going on that there's a lot of disengagement that's occurring in Canadian universities, especially. So what that means is that your 4-year experience, your 4-year program at this university, you have no tie-in back to the university, right? And that really affects your relationship and the culture and the experience that you had in those 4 years, and that directly impacts alumni dollars.
Right.
Direct impact.
Really?
Yeah. So let's say you're miserable throughout the 4 years, or you're even if you're 50-50 in terms of interaction and finding out things to do in the university. If the university comes, like let's say U of A comes and calls, right? Hey, we need donors.
Yeah.
You're less likely to be like, okay, open your wallet.
Yeah.
But if you had like a really good experience, if you bled the university colors and you had your friends came, you had just a phenomenal experience, right? You're more than likely to donate.
That's true. That's just common sense.
It's just common sense.
Yeah.
You're more than likely to donate. So what the university is doing now is that they're trying to build that relationship after you graduate, and we're saying no, you should build it during.
Yeah.
Right. You should build that that relationship and that experience during the student's lifetime in that university.
Right.
Okay. So I guess that's a great network for you guys to kind of share what you guys are trying to do, and I would say millennials would definitely be your main target. So I guess looking in the long run, what's your guys' vision for Spontivly? Where do you see it going in all sorts of ways? Whether it's urban planning or whether it's social connections. What's your plan? What's your vision?
Definitely an urban planning tool set for a lot of municipalities. So even now, as Anthony alluded to, like we have a few partnerships with post-secondary institutions, but we also have partnerships with municipalities, right, from a macro level. And the issue that municipalities face is that they don't really know what their citizen engagement is like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like when they're getting oncoming immigrants and stuff, how exactly do they get them involved, and how do they know they're integrated or they're being integrated, right?
Yeah.
So every municipality, especially in Alberta and all over North America, they have like a municipal development plan, and in those plans there are key principles where they highlight the culture aspect as well as the social side, but they don't have metrics to support that. So municipalities say they want to be a smart city, they want to be a healthy city, they want to spark user engagement, they want people to be much more outside and just walking out more, like stuff like that. They don't have metrics to support that.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is that we will be able to provide you those metrics, key metrics that will help you engage, or those measurables. Would be like if you guys know what your measurables are today, then you would know how exactly to pinpoint growth in the next 5 years based on these measurables. And how would you do that, right?
Right.
So from a programming aspect, or policy changes within, I don't know, your economic development department, or family support services, or planning and research, stuff like that. So all municipalities face this issue, because you go up to them and you ask them, how do you know what your citizen engagement is like, and how are you making data-driven decisions? They don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess Anthony, what would you have to say? I think you have a pretty personal story as well. What your vision is, and even with your kids, you want to share some light on that.
Yeah, I think why I started this and why I quit my job to actually do this full time. A lot of people have told me I was crazy, and people don't understand, right? I think a life-changing moment for me was when my son was born. Like he's 5 now, and I realized that when we as a society, I can't expect him to grow into a society where people don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
Right. I can't expect him, like my son and daughter. I have a daughter as well. Them to grow into this vicious cycle that we're going through, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm adamant about it that we fundamentally have to change this course, because we're basically going into the wrong direction, and it's quite obvious. There's a rise in people are not talking about this. There's a rise in depression, social isolation. You alluded to that,
yeah.
Right? And it's not the older generation, which is really surprising. You'd think someone in there, who's retired would feel this way. No, it's actually 20-year-olds.
Right.
Right. It's an epidemic that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
Like more and more people are depressed. There's when we went into Macewan camp, like the university told us, like once a month they get called to residents because there's an attempt to suicide.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me was like, wow, shit, like this is not good. This is absolutely not good, right? Because like think about it, you move to a different city, you're new, you're in a new surrounding. It's hard to make friends. Like it's a lonely. Like you're surrounded by people, but you're super lonely. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
And that's honestly, man, props to you. Like I feel like this is it's almost like a noble cause in a way, like for you to recognize that there is this problem and actually taking like this leap to try to address it. And you're right, like we have all this technology, but now how do we use it in a way that's actually bringing us together?
Yeah.
And like even I feel like it's just the superficial nature of these communication that's causing a lot of like this need to always be plugged in, right? Like the fear of missing out is the big thing. And so the fact that you're addressing this and making this more of like a personal thing, like
Yeah.
props to you guys for that. I wanted to I guess I want to shift gears a little bit. Let's discuss more of like what it's like to run a startup. Like give us some insight in that. Like so what's I guess a couple things. One, what's it like to run the startup? And before you get to that, what was your process for kind of identifying like a lot of people have come up with ideas, right? Like, oh, I want to start this app. I want to start this side hustle. What was your process for like, we can actually make this a viable business or a viable idea? What was your process for that? And then secondly, tell us about what it's like now. Like, what's it like being co-founders of a emerging startup?
You want to take the first part? You do the first part? Like,
I think you did all the legwork when it comes to the actual business model and all the
Yeah.
processes. Think about it. I came on board when you're putting up together the team.
I think to start this off, we're not the smartest people, right?
Right.
There are way smarter people in the world, like 100%. Like, first of all, like we have this misconception of, when you have this idea, you're like you want to hold it close, and you're like, I don't want anybody to listen. Like, first of all, get rid of that because like if you have this idea, so there's like a million people, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 80% execution.
Really?
Yeah, it's everybody can have the greatest idea in the world, right?
Yeah.
But how they execute it is what makes it's what makes it successful, right? So an example is that like I stood in front of the YMCA, like I had this idea forming in my head, because I knew it was complicated.
Yeah.
I can see this is happening, right? I knew it was complicated, but I stood in front of the YMCA in downtown Edmonton, canvassing 300 people, like interviewing random people, like asking them a series of questions, right?
Yeah.
Most people won't do that. Most people will take the easy way out, and this is like rain in the middle of winter, like fall, like you name it. Like I was there, -30 outside, just canvassing people. Right? Most people won't do that. Hands down, like a lot of people won't take that effort. Or that next step.
Especially when you don't know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And then refining the business, like right now we're in a point where we've refined it, but this took 2.5 years. It
Right.
literally took 2.5 years, right? Raj came on board 1.5 years, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's a lot of legwork that people don't see, and there's a lot more legwork that people don't see. Like a lot of people just see the what's that?
The tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
right? They see the outcome, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, and have you guys seen The Social Network?
Yeah.
You know that one line that Mark Zuckerberg, or that character that played Mark Zuckerberg said, like, if you create a Facebook, you create a Facebook. Well, yeah, if everybody can say, I can create the next Facebook, then go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it, and then figure out how hard it is to actually go do it,
Exactly.
right? Because like even looking at Facebook, like that guy hustled. That guy went from university to university, hustling. Like I think he even asked intros from, like, I think there was a podcast I saw that Gary Vee said, like, Zuckerberg came to me to do an introduction to another person, but no one knows that.
Yeah.
They just know Mark Zuckerberg, the billionaire, right? They just know the result, right? And it's actually upfront work, right?
Yeah. So I guess what's that journey been like? So you mentioned a lot of hard work and a lot of struggles, definitely, that people don't see. But I guess tell us a bit more about the journey and how you went from it just being, hey, this is a great idea, this is a solution to a social problem, to hey, we're gonna make this app, we're gonna raise $500,000 from venture capitalists and monetize this, right?
Yeah, I think the first and most important thing is like finding your value proposition. Hands down, I tell anybody that wants to go into entrepreneurship, regardless if it's tech or anything, figure out what your value is. Are people going to buy it? Are people going to use the platform or whatever it is? And do people find that there's value of it, right? And then go and find your team, and then go find your developers, like in our case, right?
Because you can have like the best sales team, but if their product sucks,
True.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, right? I'll tell you a story. Like, so we were going through this. We were figuring out even the name and all this stuff. Like, we spent like countless hours.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, this is going back even a year, 2 years. Like, from refining, like doing those 300 surveys.
your focus groups,
You
did interviews.
But even before that, like, so many people were laughed at my face.
Really?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, there are people who are like, "This is not going to work," and this makes no sense, and that's okay. So this is another thing is that you have to face obstacles, right? You're going to have a lot of people, if you strongly believe in what you're doing, a lot of people who are going to say no to you. And do you have the grit and determination to put that aside and say, yeah, I'm still doing this,
Yeah.
and believe in it, right? Like, anybody can have that idea, but are they gritty enough to execute, to do this? Because you're going to hear a lot of no's. You're going to hear a lot of people that say, this is impossible, right? And for me, my motivation was that, one, it was my children. I was like, okay, I can't have them grow into the society. We need to make this change. And I saw how people are interacting. And I saw the trend in the market space, right? And I was stubborn. Basically, the more they said no, the more, in my personality, the more you say no, the more I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
That's me. That's
Right.
how I am, right? I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong because I can see this is happening.
Right. Thanks for sharing, I guess, insight on that. Like, a big thing I always hear is, like, when running a startup, it's like you're putting out a bunch of fires. Would you say that's very true? Like, your job as CEO is just like, oh shit, we got to figure this out. And it's like, it's a constant process of like, just making sure you get by, really.
Yeah, like, I think, Raj, like, you can talk to that. Like, 2 months ago, we're going to die as a company.
Legitimately.
Really?
Yeah, we have cash flow issues, right?
Yeah.
We're going to die.
We're like, our startup's running very, very lean, right?
Yeah.
Again, as you use cash flow issues. But somehow,
You
figure it out.
Figure out a way. You got to be resourceful, and I think being immigrants, like, that's how you do it.
It's like instinctual.
It's instinctual, right?
Yeah.
Like, if the door is closed,
Yeah.
like, if the door is closed, go through the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go through the window. You have to figure out a way to actually get this done, right?
Yeah.
And there's no black or white answers. You basically have to follow the gray area, and as a person, you also have to make sure that what you're doing is ethical, right?
Right.
So that's where your personality comes in.
Exactly.
But you have to be super resourceful in figuring things out, and that's when you realize who is there to support you and who not. When you're at the most vulnerable position or time in your life, you realize who's out there to support you,
Yeah.
and who's not. Who's all giving you lip service, and who has actually really got your back.
It's funny when you say that because I used to listen to a lot of rap, hip hop music. They used to talk about like trust and this and stuff. But when you're actually in those pits, you really start to understand what those quotes mean.
Yeah.
You're like, big man, now I get it.
Yeah, it's like you're driving and then they joke about this shit with with breakups and stuff too. It's like you never understand the lyrics for the longest time. As soon as you break up, you're like, damn, this shit hits hard.
Like Marvin's River song.
Exactly. So kind of like what you said. So you never listen to it really, but you're like, you're kind of dumb. You're like, damn, this guy's speaking fast right now.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So I guess talking about hurdles, I guess we definitely want to share with people that are watching. What's the biggest hurdle you face as a tech startup?
There's tons of hurdles. There's always I think from the inception till
Yeah.
to where we are now, and then even like going forward, there's always going to be some sort of hurdle, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So, I was talking about value proposition, right? Like, so we have a team of 8 people
Right.
who are currently working, who believe in what we're doing, right? And who believe in what we're trying to accomplish as a goal. It's so hard to find people who would actually work for free.
Yeah.
That's when you know you got something.
Mm-hmm.
That's legitimately when you know you have something, is when you are able to recruit people who believe in your mission and who are going to be able to, go in the thick of things with you, and not ask for monetary gain. That I've been blessed. I've been really fortunate that throughout my career, and people who I've met are genuine and really good people. So I'm humbled because of that. I couldn't do this by myself. We couldn't do this by ourselves.
100%. Yeah.
We have so much support in the background. Like, we have Grant McEwen, we have all these universities, we have so many partnerships, and we couldn't do this, right, without that. And people even working behind the scenes, getting us, figuring out ways to like make us successful. Like, you have to have that strong network first of all. But some of the hurdles, like, man, like recruitment was one. Like, we had, we were trying so hard to get, like, I am technical, but I'm not a huge developer.
Yeah.
Trying to get a developer, like, we got these 2 guys one time, and they weren't great. Like, there was just, this personality wasn't a fit. Like, it was just not great. And then when they left, they basically sabotaged the whole project.
Yeah.
Really?
They sabotaged. Like, they deleted everything. Like, this is when we were in Silicon Valley pitching. Like, this was happening in the background.
Yeah.
So we had to scramble to find a development team, and knock on wood, we found a really good development team. Our developers are based out in Ukraine. They were really, really
So
strong
like
team.
stuff like that, it's hard to see that's coming.
Yeah.
And then you have to have the resilience to be
Yeah.
like, man, that's fine. We're gonna keep moving. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not like you drop everything. You're like, damn, like, how do we recover from this? Like, no, it's
Yeah.
having that type of mentality, be like, it's okay. We're gonna find a different avenue, and we're gonna go through that.
And it was like 6 months worth of work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
it's a lot of hours spent.
A lot of stuff. And they sabotaged that, and they left, and we were like, okay. And at that point, it was so easy to give up.
Yeah.
It was so easy to be like, okay, we're done. But for me and for myself and Raj, we were like, nah, okay, let's focus this. Let's refocus, salvage what we have, and then learn from our lessons first and foremost. Learn our lessons, right?
Yeah.
Find the right people. Find the right people who have the same mindset and the vision, and do our due diligence on who we get. And then now we're in a position, like, I think we don't even think about that.
Yeah, because the thing is, even with the startup, like, this is brand new to Anthony and I. Like, it's not like this is like a brand new process. So you're just learning everything on the fly. You're absorbing everything, and without going through these trials and tribulations, you don't know how you're gonna learn. Like, you're not gonna learn these lessons if you don't go through them.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. And you're gonna be like, okay, we got to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that's the best you can do.
Yeah.
You have to go through them. You got to go through it.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience too, right? But everything you go to, whether it's recruiting teams or challenges like that, it's again, it's very easy. It's like an opportunity for you to leave, right? It's a good excuse for you to stop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But having that grit to
That's probably the biggest hurdle, right? The mentality.
mentality.
Yeah.
Like the psychological, you got to be resilient as hell for this, man. Like,
Yeah.
this is just, and like, I would say, like, just Anthony is so instrumental in the way Spontively is today, and the trajectory it took. When he quit his job, it's literally night and day, right? And this is all because of this guy, and the grit, the resilience that this guy has, and the stubbornness as well. It's just, it's crazy. Like it's just crazy how far it's come. It legitimately just started off as an idea. I still remember when he came to me, he's just like, "Yo, I'm working on something like this. I would love for you to be on the team." I'm like, "Bro, I'm trying to go back to Toronto, to be honest, man."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's legit. That's legit how it worked. I'm like, okay, this is actually such a cool project. Yeah, because it resonated with me, and we're just like, man, okay, let's do this then, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
basically
You're a dick for doing this to me, but yo, let's do this, man.
yeah, but I basically cornered you and said like,
Yeah.
and I told him like, if Steve Jobs came and asked you to work for Apple before Apple, would you say no?
Legit. I'm saying like, bro, I'm trying to go to Toronto, like.
But it's also timing, right?
It is timing,
It's all about timing. Like, we know now more than ever. Like if you let's take this step back. So I talked about value proposition, but it's also luck and it's also timing. So like you can control your value proposition, and luck and timing you can't control. What we see now, like if 10 years ago you would have told us to do this, I think we would have been dead, because everybody, Facebook was it,
Yeah.
right? But now you see that, people are not trusting Facebook anymore. There's a data breach, and there's people who are like, I don't want to. I'm getting away from social media.
But even with social media platforms, they only have a certain timeline of effectiveness, and then they just kind of die out. It's like people just change behaviorally. You know what I mean? So like, what's the next thing now?
Yeah.
Everybody's on Instagram now, right? So that's why you think of Facebook is kind of positioning themselves in terms of acquiring and merging all these different to be kind of like this beast.
And they're trying to be relevant, right?
Yeah.
And we realize now, like, okay, well, no millennials on Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
As soon as your parents get on Facebook,
It's over.
Right? So
It's like two different personalities. On Facebook, you're like this perfect, ideal son, and then you go on Instagram. Like,
Snapchat, you're
on Snapchat,
you're just
no.
like scheming.
Yeah.
So, just before we wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions. One, you said like you felt like this was your purpose, right? Do you feel fulfilled on this journey?
absolutely, I think we haven't done anything yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, absolutely.
In the groundwork, do you still feel fulfilled? Like you get that sense of like you're building towards something?
Every day, like I wake up and I'm like, you wake up, you work extra hard when you feel fulfilled, right? Like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
right? I'm getting ready to go to work, thinking about work every day. And even throughout my 15-year career, there was a point where I stopped learning, right? I'm constantly learning. Like basically I'm like, for me and like we're on steroids, basically. We're just learning like non-stop.
Yeah.
And that in itself is good, right? Like last year versus this year, huge difference in the company, like how we talk, how we present, everything. And you never stop. So that side, and what we're doing is kind of purpose and what we're trying to accomplish. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if we stop one person from feeling isolated and lonely, we've got it done. Absolutely. We've got it done.
What that's pretty impactful in itself, right? And just, I guess, is it this idea of like the greater good that can come from this that keeps you going? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's essentially it, right? Like it's, our vision is to become the, this is why it speaks to Raj, even though you're not a tech. How I pitched it to Raj is that we want to be the largest urban planning tool in the world, right? So how do we build stronger communities?
Yeah.
How do we do that, right? Like right now, people are taking surveys, right? And it's that minute, like that small demographic of people who are always filling out the survey.
Yeah.
Right?
But the question for you guys is, the city always puts on like open houses, or where they're trying to engage with the community, but how is engagement like in terms of, it's usually the elderly people who are really invested in their communities who would show up to these types of events. And these are the same people. How do you target the younger demographic where their input is much more important in terms of shaping these communities, right? Because as communities are trying to be more progressive, that progression is contingent upon millennial input, right? Because a lot of these ways or a lot of these processes are all archaic. So then how do we make that adjustment? And that's contingent upon our input.
Exactly. And we can say at one point to the city of Edmonton, don't build that ice rink, build that soccer field because everybody plays soccer here.
Yeah.
That's more impactful to society.
Right.
Right? That is actually what we need as a community. And that's our goal.
Yeah. My next question is, so what advice would you have for, because this comes back to you believe you have purpose, right? What advice would you have for 20-year-olds, like say like me, or around that age, 18 to 25 even, on like finding what their purpose is or what they should pursue in this? And whereas society paints this picture of get this job, get a good stable income, right? And that didn't bring you happiness. How would you suggest people find their source of purpose and happiness?
I think you have to go through your journey of life. Like I'm 38. I didn't find my purpose until my son was born. Right? I knew I had a purpose, but I didn't fully execute that because I didn't go fulfill. I'm not fulfilling it because I have a job, and that limits you. I don't say jobs are not wrong. I'm not saying that people who have jobs are not fulfilled. Maybe that's your fulfillment. That's your purpose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Everybody has a different purpose, right? But for me, I always knew as a child I was going to be an entrepreneur. Like I did that, and I fell into travel, an everyday job, right? Because that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid well. Well, that's great. That's good, right? But you have to find it within, I think.
Right, and
right?
so just
you have to There's no right time. Like
yeah.
I can't say like if you're at your 20s, at your 30s, you just need to go through your life's journey, and you need to be. I think the one advice that I can say is like you need to be really honest with yourself. Like forget about being materialistic. Just sit in a corner and just like talk to yourself and be like, is this who I am?
Yeah.
Is this what I want to do? And if the answer is no, then go and find out what your purpose is.
Right.
Then you know already that what you're doing right now is unfulfilled.
No, yeah.
Right, sure. So I guess just before we close off, the last question that I would like to ask you, both of you each, is, I guess, in one word, what is one factor that cultivates a game changer? What is one word that describes a game changer? Every game changer has in common.
Or at least in your opinion.
Grit.
Grit?
Yeah.
I was going to say resilience. That's the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very similar, you said.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Anthony and Raj, for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
And amazing experience learning from you guys and everything you share. And
before we close off, we're just going to give you guys a stage to promote Spontivly, how people can get the app. I believe it's not out yet, right? So tell them a little bit about that and where they can find you on social media, and personally you can plug your own social media too.
Yeah, I guess we can go on our website. It's www.spontivly.com, SPONTIVLY.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Myself, I'm on Instagram. It's Anthony.Nagendraj, my last name.
My Instagram handle is Priyalan, so PRIYALAN.
And when will the app be launching?
We will be launching a closed beta here in August 1st. We're in a couple weeks for the universities. And then publicly, we're going to be in the school year, so in September, early September, October-ish.
Right.
So look out for that in your Play stores.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely be keeping everyone who's watching up to date with any updates with Spontively and when they release the app, for sure. And I'm a huge advocate for what you guys are doing, and it's creating a solution to a problem in the real world. And I think that's what true entrepreneurship really is. And yeah, I mean, thanks for your energy. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Appreciate
really
it.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
really appreciate it,
Thanks.
guys. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.
Peace.